Okay, let's try this. Okay. I'm sorry about that. So tonight we're gonna talk about these are the topics that we're gonna talk about the genus introduction, the species of the Astrophytum, and Astrophytum asterias in the habitat. So today give you a warning, like you can see a lot of asterias because that's what among the 6 species, that's what I really like. So you're gonna be bombarded with a lot of asterias tonight. So we're gonna talk about care and propagation, and we're gonna talk about cultivation and breeding, and the compatibility and the hybridization among the genus. So Astrophytum is a genus of 6 species, native to North America and a small part of Texas. And the word Astrophytum came from the Greek word star plant, meaning in Greek, it's the word astron, meaning star plant, which is the genus is known for, which is the star-like shaped plants. And this is the reason why maybe some people, or few of the reasons why people likes Astrophytum, likes collecting Astrophytum. So number one is they're very visually appealing. There's varieties of shapes and colors and sizes, and their ability to thrive, low maintenance, and they're spineless and very compact. And the species of Astrophytum there's 6. So this is the Astrophytum asterias and the Capricorn, the coelens, ornatum, myristigma, and the caput medusa. So if you want to see them, I brought the 6 species here so that you can actually see and observe. So we're gonna dive into each species, and later on we're gonna kind of educate ourselves and try to break down the difference between myristigma and coelens because they're very similar. So Astrophytum capricorn was discovered in 1851, listed as separate cacti, and then later on in 1922 is included to the Astrophytum genus. And then the common name is goat's horn, and it's distributed in North Mexico, and the conservation status of this plant is least concern. So you can still, they're still abundant in the habitat. And this is globose cacti, but later on though it's gonna go columnar as it grow old, but it takes a while, because cactus is very slow growing species. And as it grow bigger, the spines of this plant will go like messier, like a lot of just crazy spine as it grow old. And for the Astrophytum ornatum is the tallest Astrophytum in the genus. So it was first collected on 1827, and the common name is bishop cap, and its distribution can be seen in Central Plateau of Mexico, and conservation status is vulnerable. So it is the population of this species in the habitat is declining. And this cactus can grow up to 4 feet. I see some. Have anyone go to Back's Nursery in Tucson? They have a specimen here that are like huge specimens. It's unreal. The Astrophytum is so big over there, and it's really fascinating. So this plant is commonly the ribbing of this plant is like variable, like from 8 to 10 number of ribs. So it's really a nice underrated plant because usually people always go to myristigma and asterias, but I think this plant is so pretty too. And so this is the difference between Astrophytum ornatum and Capricorn. This is the only 2 species of Astrophytum that has spines. The rest are spineless. So with the Capricorn, the ribs are more sturdier, and for the Capricorn, the ribs are more longer and the spines are more flexible. While for the ornatum, the spines are shorter and it's kind of like sturdier. So that's the difference between the 2. And then the next one is Astrophytum myristigma. So the Astrophytum myristigma is I think everyone loves it. I think what's the word in American, like love at first sight, you know, because the star thing, like the living star, you can touch an actual star and you can grow them, you know, it's amazing. So Astrophytum myristigma was discovered in 1839, and then the common name for this species is bishop's cap, and then distribution is in highlands of northern and central Mexico. And then this is, it's weird because we're growing in cultivation like almost like greedy soil, but in the habitat, they're really growing into rocks. So it's amazing how the plant, you know, do that. And then the conservation status is list concern. So this is still abundant in the habitat, which is good. And so for the Astrophytum coelens is discovered in 1927, but first tagged as subspecies of Myristigma because of its similarity of shape. And then later on, there's people that study about it and then figured out that, oh, this is a different species for, so it was published as a coelens in 1932. So as a separate species. So common name is Astrophytum Echinocactus myristigma. So that's what the name before. And the distribution is in Coahuila and Durango in Mexico. So the conservation status is vulnerable because it's declining in the habitat. So to specify or to clarify the difference between coelens, the coelens and the myristigma is there are three definite difference between these two. So these are the trichomes and the flower and then the fruit itself. So let's talk about the trichomes. So the trichomes of the coelens is very heavy and dense, and then you can actually see that it's kind of like embossed, while the myristigma is flat and it's sporadic. So you can see this, you know, it has better spacing between its trichomes compared to this one. And with a flower too, you can identify it better with a flower because sometimes the trichomes is confusing, but you really have to identify it and wait for it to flower to really verify the plant. So the flower is the you can identify it through looking at the ovary. So the ovary of the coelens is inferior, and while the myristigma is superior. So as you can see, this is the ovary here, and the egg, unfertilized egg, is here, and this is the ovary of the myristigma, and the unfertilized egg is here. So it is superior because part of the petals, this is the petals, it started just right there, and then the petals is here. While the myristigma, while the coelens, there is a gap. So this is the ovary, and then the petal starts here. So it's kind of in the base of the flower. The ovary is seated at kind of base of the flower. That's the reason why they have different, when they are when seed dispersal happens, they have different ability. So the fruit of the coelens will disperse from the bottom, it will open from the bottom, and the myristigma will open from the top of the flower. So that is the three major key points to identify these two species. And then coelens and myristigma, when you cross-pollinate it, they say it's fruitless. I never tried it because I'm only growing Astrophytum in 4 years. So that's early to really experience that and validate that thing. But according to Google, they say it's fruitless, and then they are sterile to each other, so they can't really make offspring. Maybe because their compatibility, because they have a different ovary position too. So for the Astrophytum caput medusa, this is the most weird plant in the genus. So as I mentioned, the first five Astrophytum is they have like the globus characteristic, though they have spine and spineless. But this one, instead of having a ribs, it has a tubercles. And then this is a grafted plant, by the way, but in the habitat, it is buried deep and it'll develop tubers just like the Ariocarpus. So it's weird to be, this plant is weird to be listed as Astrophytum. So, but they have similar flower of Astrophytum. That's what probably, and then they carry the main characteristic of Astrophytum, which is the trichomes. This one, the white patterning all over the body. But Astrophytum caput medusa was just recently discovered last 2001, and then this is very cryptic in the habitat because if it's not, it was found because it was flowering. So if it's not flowering, you can't really see this plant. So this is listed as quite critically endangered, not only endangered, it's really critically endangered species because it's only growing in one single location. So this is very fascinating plant. And let's take a look on the body of the Astrophytum caput medusa. So Astrophytum caput medusa has these tubercles instead of the ribs, and each tubercles will have one areole, and the areole will produce either a flower, as you can see, there's a bud here that's forming, or it will shoot another little baby caput medusa. So that is so that's the way that it's probably in the habitat, it's gonna fall and then it's gonna create another baby. So, cause that's the only way that it could, because it's sterile to any other Astrophytum too, so it cannot be pollinated with any other Astrophytum species. And we're gonna talk that in the later presentation also. So this is the most bizarre Astrophytum in the
How did you get that one?
I got it from seeds and then I grafted it. And then 3 years later, I have the plant. So I grow everything pretty much from seeds. So Astrophytum asterias, the last but not the least, the very common one, but I really love this genus. I grow this seeds from seeds like crazy. So this was discovered on 1840 and commonly known for sand dollar cactus, sea urchin, star peyote, or a false peyote. Distribution of this plant is in small parts of United States, there in the Star County, and then in Mexico, and then conservation status is listed as endangered because the population is decreasing. And this is a very compact plant, very small but very pretty, and it's just fascinating because they're so small, and we were able to see this plant in the habitat. So can you identify where's the Astrophytum there? Can you see? Yeah, correct. That's the asterias there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. This is the nurse plant of the asterias. They hide on this plant. This is Variabilia, I think Texana. Virilia texana is the name. Yeah, that's the name of that nursing plant. So without this plant, the Astrophytum is, not gonna be it's not gonna be growing because it needs some shade. Yeah. And then the Virilia texana, this nursing plant, believe it or not, this is part of the sunflower family. So it'll grow a little pretty plant too in the spring. And we were able to see Astrophytum and habitat last December in Star County with the help of Joey Santor. And we're fortunate to see them. So this is what the habitat looks like. So it is very flat. It's like a dried riverbed. And you can see the Texana here. So some Astrophytum is hiding there because you can there. It's very seldom that you can see Astrophytum here in the open. They always hide in the Texana or here in the shrubs, like just like this one here in the picture here. It's really hiding there. So when they are covered, they're kind of up in the soil. You can see them, but if they're in the open, they are very flat. So they're very flat. You can almost see them. You can almost see them. So these are the big ones that we see them. There's like 3 inches in diameter. But take note, that's the only top part of the astrophytum. So beneath it's probably 5. So that's a huge asterias there. And they're very pretty in the habitat. And some threats, Astrophytum asterias in the habitat. So number one is mammalian herbivory, because there's like a species of pigs that eating or messing with asterias. So we see some there, that sad thing there. I don't know if they can still revive, or I don't know if they're gonna shoot pops or something like that, like what happened in the cultivation when you behead something. But it's sad because if they're gonna die, these are old specimens because they're not gonna mess with the smaller ones. They like messing with the older ones, and that's kind of sad. Then Astrophytum asterias too is um heavily poaching, or sometimes they're what's that accidentally harvested because they're similar with peyote, the Leucophora williamsii. And the main or the major threats to Astrophytum asterias is the loss of habitat, because once the habitat is gone, right now people are continue to convert the habitat, and later on we're going to lose that beautiful ecology, and it's sad. So but um that's a sad thing, but we're also happy to see some new recruitment over there. Like, I'm growing cacti from seeds, so I'm so fascinated seeing little bitty seedlings in the habitat. So where we're able to see like little seedlings trying to survive. They're very happy though, because they're very green. They're not sad looking as asterias. And there's like 1/2 inch. They're very tiny asterias. This one is 1 inch in diameter. So they're very fascinating to look at there. So topic number 4. If you have questions, so you can ask questions. So topic number 4, care and propagation. So sadly, we can't grow asterias indoor. It should be outdoor. If it's indoor, you really have to supplement the lighting. So it needs like at least 8 to 10 hours of bright filtered light. And substrate, this is my the common substrate they use is just more in the greedy side, 70% inorganic, and I fertilize them twice a year. And I repot them every 2 years, because Astrophytum, when they're young, I think they find it beneficial to repot them and have them grow new roots. And then the growing season is for summer. And also I forgot to put here in the winter, I water them like light watering, because some people withhold watering in the winter, but I don't do that. I always water my plants in the winter. And so propagation, so Astrophytum asterias, you can only propagate it by seeds. So this is the seed pod looks like, and when you open the seed pod, it has that glucose thing covered in it, and you have to process it. So this is the processed, clean Astrophytum asterias and seeds. So all the seeds of Astrophytum are the same, except for Caput medusa. Caput medusa is like slightly, the best way to describe the Astrophytum Caput medusa seeds is the form is like a Mickey Mouse. Like, try to check it. It's like a Mickey Mouse, like a little ears and a little blob there. So that makes it the difference between that. And then it will grow fairly easy and it will germinate easy. The Astrophytum is really easy to grow from seeds. And you can also graft the Astrophytum. It'll help you to get like repeat the cycle quicker because it's gonna flower for you and you're gonna harvest seeds, you're gonna sow and flower. So it's a never ending journey. So when I grow cactus from seeds, so this is my go-to method. I use the baggy method. Um, the seedlings will stay in the bag for at least 4 months without watering and without any. I don't open the bag, and then sometimes if there's fungus or everything, that's when I treat it. That's the only way. That's the only thing or the time that I need to open it. But other than that, I don't touch the bag. I don't mess with the bag. So this is the Astrophytum asterias, few days old. So Astrophytum asterias will germinate in as early as 3 days. So this is what they look like. 1 month old babies. Yeah, and they're so cute, right? Yeah. So a 1 month old, they develop this temporary spines. And then but later on, they're just gonna like they're just gonna disappear. They're probably part of maybe the ability of the cactus to collect water in the habitat. Probably that's why they have spines. Then later on, they will just, it will just be gone. And from 40 to 60 days from sowing, they're gonna start developing their trichome patterning. So this is a super caboto seedling. So it's very fascinating once they start developing that pattern. And then this is a 6 months old seedlings that's ready for transplanting. So this is the comfortable size that I like them working on because they're not very tiny and they're not very fuzzy this time. Because if you replant them too early, they're just gonna melt. And this is the 12 to 16 months Astrophytum asterias. So yeah, call me crazy, but I grow that much. So I grow that much Astrophytum asterias. And so Astrophytum asterias will start to flower, give or take 3 to 5 years from sowing. But they really start to flower if they reach like 1.5 inches in diameter. That's when really, if you can get to that point quicker, 1.5 inch in diameter quicker, like when you graft it, so it will flower for you. So these are some of the seedlings that I've grown. So these are the Focorio myristigma. Then this is believe it or not, this is the same batch of this one. This is the grafted one. And this is a 3-inch pot. So this is how it's slow when you grow it from seeds compared to this one that's grafted. Wow. So this is a baby covalence here. It really looks like a myristigma. This is the myristigma. You can't really tell. So that's why it's important to see the flower in order to identify them. And these are this is why growing from seeds is so fun because you can collect, nice specimens and you can just own it. So this is a seedling. This is what it looks like. This is a covalence cultivar, that's Kiko. And this is a B type that has 3 heads. So this is what it looks like now. And this is a twin head asterias. And this is what it looks like now. So this is very amazing. You can collect like very beautiful specimens when you grow from seeds. So topic number 4, we're gonna talk about cultivation and breeding. So there is no doubt that there are far more Astrophytum in the habitat, in cultivation than in habitat, I probably own more than asterias than what we can see in the habitat right now, because I really grow a lot of asterias. So when we talk about cultivation, it's hard not to talk about Japan or the Japanese growers, because they are the ones that develop or study the Astrophytum and produce all or 90% of the cultivars was produced by Japanese growers. They really work hard for those plants for us to enjoy it right now. So the first plant that was arrived in Japan. So we're just gonna talk about a little bit of history of Japan about the Astrophytum. So it was the first plant was the Myristigma, what was brought to Japan from Paris on 1867, and then from 1931 to 1935 they start propagating it from seeds and see some variation and get fascinated with it. And but during 1939, the World War II happened, so it shut down. And then they tried to revive the cactus industry on 1948, but I believe that after that they have another setback. There's a big earthquake happened there, so the cactus industry was stopped again. But 1955 to 1970, this is the peak of the Astrophytum cultivation in Japan. Like the Japanese really work hard for the last 15 years to stabilize certain cultivars, and that's all the cultivars that we're enjoying right now. So 2005, they were able to have their first Japanese exhibition of cactus there, and it was attended by 10,000 Japanese, more or less grower cactus lover over there. So cultivation and breeding, so the best way or the simplified way to explain it is the basic to explain it is just like that. From one plant, this is a mustard plant, the brassica. So by the genius people that knows the selective breeding, they were able to produce several varieties from one plant. So in one selection, like this is selection for a terminal bud, so we have cabbage. So a selection for leaves, so we have kale. But it's hard to imagine it only came from one plant. But that's how fascinating selective breeding is. So it's the same with Astrophytum asterias. So the selective breeding goes like this. So let's see. So in a certain population, you're gonna pick that one unique plant. For example, this one is we're selective breeding, breed for a variegated plants. Like for example, so you only have one variegated plant in the population, so you will try to increase that population. So you will do selective breeding. So you will pair. So this is the parent generation, and then maybe in the parent generation you will derive like less than 5% will be variegated, and then select the best form, select the best variegation, and then pair them. So that's the first generation or F1, and then just continue repeatedly breeding it up until the population is gonna be high. So if you reach like 50% conversion, that's already considered fixed. So that's really a big thing. That's a very big achievement if you can convert it 50%. But this is the easier way to look at it. But if you really try to understand it, from this one plant to first generation, this is a seedling. It will take 5 years to flower before you can have the F2. And then the F2, from here to there, it's another 5 years. So that's a decade of work. So it's really like what's that, a passion to do it. So that's why I'm so amazed with Japanese people, how they do it. In just 15 years, they were able to produce amazing cultivars, 100 cultivars, and they're just probably just go to the garden 8 hours a day. So so just like that mustard plant, the brassica plant, So Japanese people were able to coax or to get the best out of this. So like the flowers, the trichomes, the epidermis of the plant, the number of ribbing and areoles, you name it, Japanese people work on that part. So in the garden right now, I'm also doing some grafting. So I've also collected some nice cultivars that derive from these parts here. So for example, for the flowers, so these are the flowers that I were able to see in the garden. So these are all grafted though, because I've been cactusing for like 3 years-ish. So this is the crested flower of Asterias. This is a cultivar named feather flower. This is Acabana, because the normal flower of Asterias is yellow. This is one is the red one. And this one is Sinshua Acabana, which is like a thread looking flower. And this one is the yellow version, which is called Sinshua, and then a rainbow flower. And this one is, I see it in the garden. I don't know. I tried to research it, but I can't find the name of this. So this is a little bitty thing. And it don't have petals though. This is the female part of the plant, the stigma that opens in the top, and it don't have a pollen. So I don't know. This is the something that you look at, you can't do anything about it because there's no pollen. And this one is a curly, I think it's a curly version of this, but the pollen looks like a plastic material. There's no pollen grain. It's weird thing.
Do you think that's a result of like inbreeding? That it would make functional flowers like that?
Maybe too, because I don't know, the genetic of Asterias is just pretty much disturbed or something like that. It was yeah, pretty yeah, 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 it's like yeah. Yeah, I tried to, but it's just it didn't make it. Yeah. And this is the selection for trichomes. So this is Miracle Kabuto cultivar. So this is the common the wild type thing we can see in the habitat. So from this plant, Japanese people were able to did this. So this is the Super Kabuto, and this is the Super Kabuto snow, which is the body is just full, like 90% covered with trichomes. And this one is the B type. This one is the arrow type. Looks like there's an arrow there. And this is the line type. And this one is cultivar called hakun, which means like in Japanese, it's like white patches. So this is also in Myristigma, the Onzuka. So named after the inventor or the people that cultivated it, Mr. Onzuka. And this is Onzuka hakun. So as you can see, there's white patches here. So you can really tell the difference between the two. And then selection for epidermis. So it's very common to see variegated one. So this is the orange or red type variegated. This is the kuyo. The kuyo is so fascinating because it changes its color throughout the season. So as the sunlight is, intense and longer, it'll turn red. And then in the fall, when the sun's weakened, it turned like a yellow and orange thing. So it looks like it'll mimic the fall color. It's very fascinating. Then after that, like in the winter, it's kind of like go to the green side again of the plant. So this is the pure albino Astrophytum asterias. So it is grafted because it can produce chlorophyll, so it'll just die. So this is a koyo, but the Onzuka version. And this is the variegated Myristigma, and this is a koyo. There's a violet, was that a violet cultivar. And selection for forms too. So the Kiko is very popular. This is the cultivar Ikabu, meaning there's like a little dimple right under the areole. And this is the elephant skin. And this is the lizard skin Asterias. This is the Kiko, the spotted wild type. This is the durian. It's the same with the Kiko, but the but the ribbings are more pointed. And this is the star-shaped asterias and the star-shaped, this star-shaped asterias supercabuto, and this is the star-shaped asterias. And the trichostatum, quadricostatum, and the myristigma Kiko. And this is my favorite here, the Kiko, still Kiko myristigma, but a very selected form because it's kind of very nice for form there. So there, you can also witness like asterias that grow multiple ribs. This is a 13 ribs asterias, and there is like 7 ribs asterias star shaped too. And this is the Goryo, which only have like 5 ribs. And these are like the monstrous and the crested ones, the Kiko coalens, the trichostatum. And this one is the supercabuto florifera cultivar, which is the ability to branch of the plant to, do branching. And this is the crested Kiko here. And the selection for aerial, so it's been modified to the Oibo has like bigger aerials. The Renzii is like the aerials are so close to each other. And then the Hanaizumi, you can see it clearly, but in one aerial point, there's like 3 aerials there. So that's why it's called Hanaizumi. It's three there, 3 there. It's very fascinating. And then there's Hanazono, which the aerials just grow all over the body of the plant, which has the capability to flower all over its body because there's the aerials there. So it could flower here, instead of the normal one that's only flower in the apical meristem. So this is the Hakoju cultivar, which is the aerial looks like connected because there's the white patches. And this one, I don't know what it's this. I'll just call it inermis. It's so clean. The Kiko is so clean. There's no trichomes, there's no aerial. This is the growth point, and that's it. It's very unique plant. So as they say, like Astrophytum is when you collect it, it's endless and it's gonna get better and better. So in the garden, I have plants that carry multiple characteristics. So like this, it has 3 characteristic. It is a Goryo because it has a 5 ribs. It is a Focorio type A because it has an alternating ribs. And then it is Ikabu because it has that dimple right after the aerial. And this one is a variegated one, and it's a snow type, and it just covered. Like it almost looks like a cotton. It's white.
So
And this,
one of those.
I don't know. I don't know.
Which one?
To be honest,
Green, size like that. From the green room, which is their like husband and wife.
yeah, I think they're in Austin, right?
They're in Austin,
Yeah, they're specialized, very unique.
But they travel about it. Hey,
So this is the Super Kabuto Kiko, and this one has 4 points. It is a Goryo plant, and it's Super Kabuto because it has the flaking, and it is a Focorio type A because it has alternating ribs in the side, and it's a B type. So that's one thing when you're hunting Astrophytum. It's kind of like you have to look for, like a gem hunting, like a nice and you're going to antique shop and try to look for valuable stuff. So these are Goryo plus Focorio type A Astrophytum. This is a Goryo 5 ribs V type. The V type is so thick. It's amazing. This is a Super Kabuto, and then it has a line type, and then it has 10 ribs. So this is Astrophytum myristigma Hakojo, because the white lining. Focorio type B because the ribbing is just crazy with like warts. And then it is like multicostatum because it's more than 5 ribs. So those are another combinations too. But my favorite is this one. 13 ribs, super kabuto B type. I don't see anyone have like that. So I just like that plant. And so right now we're gonna talk about, I think this is the last topic. So the last topic is hybridization. Um, so hybridization is trying to breed two different species. Selective breeding is you focus on one species and kind of like improve the quality or the traits that you see. But the hybridization is try to make a new one out of the two species. So within the Astrophytum genus, like what I mentioned earlier about the myristigma and then the covalence, they can make seeds because they are not compatible. They have different ovary position. So that's why they're not they were it's useless to put your all work there. You can't really get a seed out of that. So this is the flower of Astrophytum. So I extracted some flowers, and this is the inferior ovary position, which is the Astrophytum asterias, Capricorn, and covalence have. And the superior ovary position is the myristigma, ornatum, and the kaput medusa. So to simplify it better, we can have a grouping. So the group A is asterias, Capricorn, covalence. The group B is myristigma and ornatum. The group C is kaput medusa. So in hybridization, if you cross breed group A to group A, any of this species here, it's fairly easy. You can really produce seeds out of it. And if you crossbreed group A to myristigma and ornatum, it is doable, but you can encounter some problems along the way because there's like a slightly genetic issue. And sometimes it's the yield is very low, but it's still doable though. And the group A, so all of the other Astrophytum, if you cross it with kaput medusa, for some reason, it can't make anything. It's like Astrophytum kaput medusa is sterile to all other Astrophytum. So that's why we can see medusa hybrid. That's the only plant there that you can get. Aside from having variegated one, sometimes variegated will just pop up in a population. So you can see Astrophytum kaput medusa variegated. So this is an example of that I tried to do in the garden. So I grafted this. I grafted some of this, and then this is the seedling. So this is the first F1 hybrid. The parent plant is the Capricorn and the Asterias. So this is the baby. So the baby carries out more the Asterias body, and then the ribs are kind of like in boost, just like the father. So that's what I do. That's a quite example for group A cross breeding. And then I did the group A to group B as well. So this is the super caboto and the Astrophytum myristigma as the father plant. And this is what it looks like. So the the shape of the plant is more round like the Asterias. And then the ribs are just look like the father. And it carries the trichome. So this is the F1, the first generation. So I don't know what will happen if I breed these two. It's really endless. So Astrophytum asterias, Astrophytum genus is really fascinating. So I always believe that collecting plants and buying seeds is a different hobby. So with this one, I'm gonna end my presentation, and thank you so much for listening. So any questions?
Question about the winter maintenance of your plants. So I know you have a greenhouse, So, what temperature the greenhouse at?
In winter though, the greenhouse gets, it's like this, in the winter, whatever the temperature inside, if it's cloudy, my greenhouse have the same temperature. But if it's sunny and bright, it'll get to 90 degrees. So in the winter, but before, I just had the greenhouse recently though. But before that, I just keep them above, like in a 34 degrees. I just leave them 34 degrees because I have a canopy there. So I cover them or turn on the heater when it gets freezing. But I tried it 34, they're good. All of them are good at 34.
And you water them?
Yeah, if it's bright and shiny, I water them. But if it's like dreary, cold, but when I water though in the winter, I do light watering, like just like spraying like that, just to maintain like a little bit of active roots. So that's it.
And do they flower for you in winter?
Yeah, they do.
Wow.
Because it's hot here though. I think they flower if you have like temperatures like 80, 79, or 75, and we always have that even in the winter. So they flower.
Yeah, for me, I just bought the watering for that during winter, and I realized that especially the amphibians, they just pour themselves into the soil.
Yeah.
I have there's that.
Yeah, in habitat, they're kind of like adapted to it, but in a pot though, it's hard to do it because what happened is the Asterias has the ability to conserve energy during the winter. So if you don't water it, it's gonna dismember some part of the roots in order to leave. So let's just say you didn't water the Asterias for the last 4 months. So when you pull the plant is still alive, but it don't have roots because it's already dismembered itself just to survive. So when you water it in the spring, you cannot water Asterias without roots. That's one thing you cannot water. Once you check the once you check the Asterias, if it don't have roots, don't water. So that's the thing, the common thing. That's why Asterias die is watering without roots.
Is I am playing classes at once together.
Yeah, just like try. It's like a playground. Yeah, yeah.
So it's the end of so we-
Yeah, it's really endless. Astrophytum is really endless. Yeah.
You selling the plants then, or what?
I have some, but most likely they're like adult seedlings, though I really don't have a big specimens yet. If I have big specimens, I grafted those. So yeah, I do have some. I do sell some. I have a website, a little website, and that's where I sell my plants, and I also have Instagram.
So we be in the show then?
Yeah, am I allowed to go in the show here? Yeah, yeah, I'll be honored to do that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, right. Yes, we do.
And the gift is made by our very own color. Color make this gift.
Oh,
That's Kirsten Jackson and Douglas Society.
oh, thank you so much. Yes, sir.
There's down on the YouTube video, be a scientist, and cusses all the time.
Yeah, that's the guy that I've been within the habitat. Yeah, Joey Santor. Yeah, he's he's famous of the cussing thing.
Yeah. He just, this property down in Stone County.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he guided us there and we see the steers in the habitat. Yes.
How large does an adult Asterias get? Like what's the?
Um, In the wild,
Yeah.
they could grow like 6 inches in diameter though.